unfortunately our last meeting. Thank you for starting the recording. So again, thank you everyone who was able to join. And this is our last meeting of this community of practice. Unfortunately, we won't be able to continue with the work of the Secretariat next year due to different competing priorities in organizations and restructuring and so on. But we thought it was important for us to have this final meeting to have a recap, a reflection around what we built together, what stays out of this journey, right? What we've been able to learn and take away, and also a brief discussion on possible follow-up activities, next steps, way forward. It would be great to brainstorm together what could be done since this cycle is ending, right? And we can potentially consider other ideas for next year. So just very briefly share with you the agenda for today. I hope you can see my screen now. Yep. So the main objectives of today, reflect collectively, sorry, on key learnings, insights, and experience gained from the 7 previous meetings we had. Identify, articulate the valuable practices, strategies, and approaches that we have learned from this experience and how they can be applied to for citizen engagement and evidence-informed decision made, right? Discuss challenges and gaps that remain within the discussion, and of course how we can address these gaps and challenges as needed and as we move forward. Synthesize collective takeaways that can also be used to inform our future work in the area and future work on establishing agendas for this area. And also explore continued opportunities for collaboration. So what else can we do to share knowledge, to share opportunities, and to support each other in this journey? And finally, to celebrate the achievements and acknowledge all the contributions that were made. We've had such rich discussions in this space, so it is really good that we take some time just to celebrate this, right? So very briefly, we'll have now the opening, which I'm doing, and then Cecile will kind of share with us a brief recap of our journey so far, and also the role that the different participants have had in building this community to this point. Then we'll have an interactive moment in which we will discuss using the Slido tool. Not sure if everyone is familiar with it, but it's basically a survey tool. So I'll share the link, and we will each of us draft answers to these questions. So and then collectively talk about them so that we assess this experience and have a written registry of what we built together and how we see possible next steps. And then we will close the meeting with next steps and potential ways forward that we will discuss today, right? And we can assess them quickly. So before we move on to the interactive part, let me stop screen sharing and give the floor to Cecile. Cecile, if you
Hi,
need
David.
to step in. Thank you.
I'm back. Sorry, I think my network is not that good.
We can hear a bit of an echo, Cecile. Not sure if it's only me.
Me too. I can.
Do you happen to have 2 devices connected right now? I can see 2.
Let me check.
Maybe now it's better. Let's see.
Is it better?
There was still some echo. It sounds like our mic is capturing the sound from your speaker.
Cecile, I think you have 2 profiles open now.
Yeah, I can see 2.
I can see 2. Is it better now? I think.
Yes, it is better now.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the network, I was not sure if I was in or not. All right. Thank you very much, Davi, for this opportunity. I think it has been an amazing journey for all of us because it's been like good 13 months for us to get to this moment and be able to celebrate the work that we've done together because that's something really to celebrate on our side. I think just before talking about everything, it will really be great for me to really thank the organizing team because they, took time to make sure that we get together on bi-monthly to ensure that we discuss and sort of advance citizen engagement. Thanks to Gloria, she was a program officer for the AEN, and then April has been helping us from Cochrane side. Lisa was also part of us, and then Davi is helping us as well. And I think in the background, Tanya has been supporting us through this journey, and then Veronica as well join us later on in the process to be part of the citizen engagement community of practice. How this all started, just to share a bit. In the AEN, we wanted to do a citizen engagement community of practice. And whilst we were planning, we realized that WHO was also doing the same process. And then we decided, let's get in touch so we don't duplicate services in trying to contribute to something that's really important. And then we started to have a few meetings to say, okay, we can work together and partner together. And then later on, Cochrane joined the bus that we started with, which was really great to see how three big organizations came together to start this community of practice on citizen engagement in EIDM, in the health sector in particular. So this was really important for us. And I think over the past few months, we have had a privilege of hosting 8 virtual meetings, and each focusing on a specific aspect on citizen engagement and evidence-informed decision making. Some of our key highlights really include the fact that we were able to, in each and every meeting, to introduce this community of practice, its objectives, and presentations on evidence-informed decision making, informed participation in policy decisions, and we had also had a conversation on digital tools for citizen engagement. And also, what is important, this community also explored mini public's approach just to see how else can we advance this work that we're doing. And then there was a chat about practicalities of citizen engagement and evidence synthesis. And then additionally, our participant had an opportunity to reflect on key learnings, identify valuable practices, and discuss challenges and gaps in implementing citizen engagement. And through these meetings, the community has made great progress. We're able to have a shared vision together. And then briefly, we explored working groups to see how we can work also in smaller groups because we had a lot of members. I think over 200 people were interested in this community of practice. And then also we laid groundwork for continued collaboration and knowledge sharing, which was really an exciting part of this. So how this started, we started our first meeting on the 6th of November 2024, where we launched the Citizen Engagement Community of Practice, which is really the beginning of everything for this community of practice. And I think we had interesting speakers, Rebecca from Sao Paulo, who chatted to us about the policy lab that they were working on in the King's College of London, which is sharing expertise and different lessons that they've learned in that. And then we also had an opportunity to speak to the e-based team in West Africa, in Cameroon, Andrea and Elvin. They spoke to us about using social media platforms in citizen engagement and evidence-informed policy making. And Oliver also, Professor Oliver spoke to us as well about the mini publics that I've just chatted to you about. And then Ruth Stewart also shared very interesting discussion with us on citizen engagement and informed policy, sort of those practicalities and processes. She was really big on sharing those. And then the 7th meeting, we had Maureen, who shared a very interesting presentation or discussion. It was sort of an engaging discussion on nothing about us without us, citizen engagement in evidence synthesis to help address pressing health and social systems issues. So these are really an exciting topic that we discussed, I think, in October. And then today, this is our 8th meeting. where we want to really, reflect what are the takeaways and how do we move forward in terms of this citizen engagement. How do we wrap everything up? Also, I think the biggest lessons that we've learned also, we had briefly explored working groups. We had, I think, 3 meetings. We wanted to do working groups on the charter, the work plan, the resource hub, and the monitoring and evaluation framework. And I think we were challenged because working virtually and across country collaboration adds into complexities. Coordinating members across different countries, different time zones was really, really a challenge from our side. And also, this work is volunteer based. So, participation limits the consistent availability of our members. Internet connection, you can see having internet connection issues that some impacted some of our members' participation in this process. And also, we realized that building these working groups needed more time than we expected, because I remember we said we needed 1 hour. People can sort of commit an hour. And then we realized that was more than we require to, advance the working groups. And I think also what we learned from this was sustaining engagement in a virtual meeting requires really a deliberate effort, because sometimes it can be really difficult to read the room online in terms of how things are going and how people are contributing. And also we learned that we need to have a clear and proactive communication is essential for doing things like this. So these are the lessons that we're taking with us to make sure that if we do anything like this in the future, we can be able to learn from everything that we've learned together. And also, what was interesting was every time we had a speaker, maybe from outside of the continent, we'll make sure that we have a chair from from Africa, vice versa, just to make sure that we balance the room. We ensure that there's diverse opinions and lenses in terms of how we drive different conversations. So I think it has been a really an interesting journey for us. And I hope you've also from your side joining us every meeting. You have learned so much from this process. And I think at the end of this, we'll share all the recordings, all the information, so to have everything in one. So that when you want to go back to what we've done together, you can find it in one place. So we'll share that, I think, when we are closing, just to make sure that you don't lose any discussions that we had together on this community of practice. So I think from my side, those are some of the things that I thought I wanted to share, and really be grateful to the participation of the members that are taking time to join us on a monthly basis or bi-monthly, just to make sure that they contribute to these discussions that we are having for the citizen engagement community of practice. So I think that's everything from my side. I don't know if there's anything else from some of the members in terms of reflection and all. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Cecilia, for this recap, overview, and the reflections, right? Let's open the floor then for the members if someone wants to add something, any reflection they might have. And then after that, we will go to the interactive part where we have the slide or two, and each one will be able to type in their impressions regarding the different dimensions that we mentioned before to assess the experience so far.
Maybe I can just share a little bit.
Yes, please go ahead, Ronald.
All right, thanks, Dav. Yeah, mine is just a short submission. Right, just wanted to reflect that. Well, we've talked a lot around civic engagement, especially in EIDM enhancement programs. But in our context, especially, I'm talking of Zimbabwe, which is a highly populist and polarized setting. And it's such an intricate process because, of the associated ingrained political identities, emotive reasoning, and especially mistrust among the various actors. Because the moment you try to engage citizens, the moment you want to engage the public, in these politically polarized settings, there are a lot of conflicts, that start taking place. So as a result, you find that implementing evidence-informed solutions becomes very difficult. And most of the conventional approaches that we use do not deal with the social issues, especially in such settings. The media is also fragmented, and issues around simplifying, scientific complexities are some of the issues that we have ended up experiencing. I think there is a need for a long-term customized cultural shift to come up with effective interventions. But at the same time, it's also difficult to quantify, especially looking at the mismatch between the demands of public participation and also evidence appreciation. So I don't want to sound all gloomy, but the thing is, I understand obviously there is no magic bullet or a kind of panacea to effectively engage citizens in a way that they contribute to the policy-making process more meaningfully. But I think the general approach is essentially to concentrate on developing trust, and also highlight shared values and local relevance, including the use of more reliable and approachable communication techniques, and obviously having respectful, open conversations. I think if we implement such approaches, we'll get somewhere, especially looking at some of these populist and politically polarized settings, like where I'm coming from. I think that's what I wanted to add and also kind of reflect on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. That's super important to raise, right? I think it's easy for this discussion to take a very technical pathway. So we focus a lot on the techniques, right? And that might make us lose sight of the fact that when we talk about citizen engagement, we are very close to the political system and the political processes, right? And the way politics is done. So it's really important for us to have in mind the challenges, the limitations, the misuses that can arise from the fact that we are dwelling or that we're diving into the politics of policymaking, right? Maureen, please go ahead.
I was going to say good morning, everyone, but I don't think it's morning for most of you. I'm sorry I was late. The initial invitation was for an hour later than this. So in my calendar, it was showing up as an hour later. And then I got the email this morning. So I was rushing to try to get another meeting rescheduled so I could join you. I feel kind of like an imposter because I've only joined once your community of practice, and that was the day that I was given that incredible opportunity to present. And it's not because I didn't want to. I was very, as you know, I was very involved with the evidence synthesis infrastructure collaborative work. And that kind of took over my life for about 6 months. And then it continued after it ended. And so I just wanted to basically say that I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to be here and to listen to all of you so I can learn. Because we in the global north, we have to learn from you, and we have to understand the context and everything that you're facing, and we're only going to move forward when that happens. So I'm really here. I'm hoping it's okay that I'm here. I wanted to come, and I'm especially interested in your plans that you have for the future, and how there are going to be many opportunities with ESSEC. There's going to be funding available. There'll be things that can be done, and that we can, that we can work together. But I'm especially here to just learn from you and appreciate all of the hard work that you do in often very difficult circumstances. So thank you so much. And I was so happy that I had the opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the work that we're doing in Canada. But I also realize that it's the context is much different. So looking forward to listening to you. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you for joining. And yeah, of course, you're very welcome to join. And I think it's great that you already have in sight some plans for next year, right? So I think the space today is, of course, for us to recap and to take stock of what was discussed so far, but also for us to think of potential avenues of collaboration partnership next year. So it's very welcome for you to share more. Well, maybe a bit later, you'll be very happy to hear more of the plans that ASIC has in mind and how this group can maybe collaborate with that. Uh, does anyone want to react to any of um, the comments so far before we move on to the next activity?
Sabit had the hand up, so maybe you can come in, Sabit.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just I was listening while driving, but now I just parked and just to reflect. I've got Cecilia's perspective, and I couldn't get a chance to attend all of the meetings, and just I'm happy that you have provided a lot of insights on community engagement. Just to reflect on our experience, just we have conducted community engagement in research and all the process from conceptualization up to dissemination, how it comes. And just what we found out by that time is just the engagement is mostly during the implementation of the research rather than conceptualization and dissemination. So this is a very good opportunity to engage communities so that they conceptualize the idea of the research, so that at the end they are the end users of the evidence is just it is going to be applied to the community. By the time we conduct a stakeholder dialogue on the community engagement in research, what I recall is just the community representative was raising the issue of these scientific people using jargon words which it's not clear for them. So it was the times we understand as simple. We have to make it as simple as possible in a plain language way. Then we are trying to contextualize this citizen panel and citizen brief, how to prepare citizen briefs and citizen panels to the level that lay people can understand what we are talking about, the research findings, and so that their ideas just represented in the policy making process, just to reflect. And this Sabit from CESDA, Center for Evidence Synthesis Support and Development in Africa, and African Evidence Network member. And thank you. It's very insightful. And the way forward matters. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sabit, for sharing a bit more from your experience. And I see that Beatrice has her hand up.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Please,
So
Beatrice, go
thank
ahead.
you very much. This is just to also reflect upon my journey, seeing the advert and wanting to join. I really questioned myself what the purpose of the community of practice was. I think it was a new term, should I say, and it sort of like caught waves with a lot of people because you heard community of practice, and one would wonder what it was, a group of people coming together with common goals. But what really was the purpose? It was until we had a number of, sessions before I was able to sort of like understand really what the concept was all about and what our purpose and what we wanted to achieve was. And so I realized that it was also not only me. I had invited a couple of colleagues within the evidence decision making space to join some of the meetings. And then off the meeting, they would ask, so what really is this about? What are we hoping to achieve? And here is the case whereby me, the invitee, could not really fully also explain where we were heading towards as a group and as a community of practice. So I think, moving forward, perhaps the purpose really of this community of practice, what we hope to achieve at the end of the day should be really clearly spelled out, beyond us as an organizing team, but for the members or the people who will be joining as well to have more insight on it. I think that did not come out really clearly in the past 1 year of our engagement, and perhaps we would want to look at that. I state this again by stating another example. I was privileged to be part of one of the working groups. I cannot really remember now whether it was a work plan or what. And usually when we met for meetings, then the chair and the secretary and myself would ask, so what are we doing? Where are we heading towards? So I really wasn't surprised when sort of like we couldn't progress within the work groups and stuff like that, because a lot of the members really had not grasped what the concept was, where the several groups were heading towards, and what we hope to achieve. So these are three sort of like case studies, myself, my reflection over the period, people are invited, to join, and then what the working group members themselves who would expect that understood what we were about were also missing it. And so these are sort of like reflections that I think that as a team, as a planning team, we could look at and spell things out clearly, particularly what is the goal? What do we want to achieve? What is the collective effort in moving on onto our next phase as we go along? Thank you very much. This is Beatrice from Ghana. Um, Happy to be part and happy to be here as well.
No, that's great, Beatrice. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we can maybe react to this a bit just because we do have this survey, right? Or these questions that are meant to spark the discussion. But I also feel that we are kind of entering the discussion already. So maybe the questions, we can see if it makes sense to use them still or not. Or if the discussion just spirals up and we don't need them. And I think these are a few great points that you are raising. And I think it was a learning curve for everyone. Right at the beginning of the process, as part of the secretariat, we were aiming to allow the group to establish the identity of the COP, and that included the goals. So it was purposefully left open, right? Many of the design elements, let's say, of the COP, so that the participants were free and autonomous to discuss the goals, discuss the methods, discuss the approach, discuss the periodicity, discuss the channels, and so on. And that didn't happen. I think we eventually realized that setting up these through horizontal dialogue among dozens and dozens, sometimes even hundreds of people, was maybe too complicated, too time consuming. And then that led to the teams, to the working groups to slowly lose traction, right? And they couldn't complete their missions.
Yeah.
They couldn't finalize the work that it was initially proposed to them. And then what we did as the secretariat, we gravitated to this different model in which we just established that we would be like a community that gathers to discuss, let's say, hot topics in the area, right? So we would bring one or more experts that are working in the area that could share either their research or their experiences, and then we could use that as a starting point for a conversation among the group. And I think that kind of worked. It felt more sustainable, and I think people more clearly felt that they were taking value out of the COP instead of. But that was present from the beginning, right? At the beginning, we're trying this dual approach in which we would have a capacity building component and then paired with more open, horizontal, constructive moment for the COP. And then that second moment didn't gain traction, so we gravitated towards only keeping the first moment. But yeah, it would be great to hear more about the other people who joined, what they thought could have been done differently, so that maybe the COP could be more objective, or we could have achieved more, or different approach that we could have considered to make this more valuable for everyone. Feel free also to bring other comments, topics, impressions.
Maybe I can jump in. I was reading to the comments, also reflecting on what Maureen said, and I've seen also Mali and Ellen, who were saying about feeling a bit of an imposter. Well, I actually think you were not, because in this community practice, at least during the last conversations we had, we needed to learn, and the conversation was very rich in terms of practices, good practices. And in those ways, I think we all felt that we learned from each other, or at least we were also motivated and encouraged to keep working on what we are doing, no? And involving the citizen engagement as crucial part of taking ownership of evidence use in policymaking and how important it is. So I wanted to comment on that. I think that's one of the main reasons I like this community so much, and I was very sad to see that it's going to an end, because I think it was a good platform where we could see what is going on in other countries, in other contexts, and we are not alone struggling in our own in our own places, in our own cities.
Thank you, Veronica. Yeah, I think one of the ideas was exactly that you highlighted now, this exchange that can be global, right? I think that's super valuable opportunity for people that are working in different corners of the world to share the experience. And I think we're often surprised by both the similarities and the differences. Right? So many things in common, and also things that we sometimes we could never imagine. Should we play around with these questions, maybe? I understand that a few people have not joined many meetings, so maybe these questions won't make that much sense, but we can try to do this quickly to the extent that it makes sense. I think we can have a very flexible approach here, right? It's not something that we need to do to the end. Let's see if it resonates. So I'm sharing in the chat the first question, and it should be open for everyone to answer. What has been your biggest takeaway from this community of practice? Let's maybe give people 2-3 minutes, and then we can discuss. Do let me know if you have trouble accessing the link. I believe that once you type in your answer, you can see the other answers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
From my admin page, I can see that there is at least another one person typing. So let's wait for them to finish and then we can discuss. Yeah. I see a new answer just came in, so maybe that's it. So we have citizen engagement is most effective when it's intentional, inclusive, and built in decision-making process rather than treated as an add-on. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it has been something repeated by many of the people who intervene, right, to contribute to the COP. Clarity of purpose, inclusivity and representation, two-way communication, capacity building, and sustainable structure, right? So we do need a whole set of conditions and strategies to promote it effectively. And I think the other answers, many of them point to this diversity, right, and the engagement of the group, so that there is an appetite for this group and sharing and learning from each other. The global interest in exchanging on the topic, the importance of bringing together a diverse group of people with shared values, the diversity of topics and speakers. So yeah, I think to the extent the spirit of the COP was well reflected, right, in our experience, which is to really bring this diversity and these multiple perspectives and people from different countries, different walks of life, let's say. Another answer has came in, ensuring that citizens' input meaningfully and visibly informs final policy decisions and not done tokenistically. Yeah, I think that's also one of the big risks of this area, right? Yeah, super interesting. Does anyone want to comment before? There's another one. I have learned that even though citizen engagement takes much effort, brings big benefits. Yeah. Does anyone want to comment on those before we move to the next one? Did anything resonate with you in a way that you were not expecting? Okay, so I'm going to open the next question. Which topic it should pop up to you for each of you automatically on the same window? Which topic discussion resonated with you the most? And after we're done replying to this one, I will request someone else to comment on that so that I'm not the only one speaking here by myself. Yeah, Josephine, I see you have your hand on.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to put my hand up for the previous one before this one, but somehow my icons were acting. Yeah, I'm the one also who has been sometimes missing in action, so I'm guilty. But generally, I'm happy to be part of this community. For those that I've not interacted with, my name is Josephine Watera, and I'm an assistant director in charge of research in the Parliament of Uganda. And so when I saw the feedback that came from this first poll about the benefits of citizen engagement, it reminded me how it's one of those things that has made a difference in our space because the policymakers, specifically members of parliament, are representatives of the people. So we have found that the policies that have been that have had more participation and engagement of the citizens, seeking clarification, using their local knowledge, their local content. Uganda even had to pass the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda kind of law, so that to encourage the and also the local content policy to encourage engagement of citizens in development. It resonated with me that it felt like, you are bringing people with the raw knowledge. How are they going to participate to influence their development? But the benefit has been so much. People have learned the value of having their voices on the table, the value of contributing to even quality assurance of some of the services and products that the government is producing. We have a very active citizen engagement platform called the Barazas. The community is involved to kind of evaluate and monitor how service delivery is being done. And so they provide input to say, we think in the health sector, in the road sector, in the energy sector, 1, 2, 3 things are not moving well in our community. And so they bring that knowledge on the table. And so we are able to use this. So for me, the voice of the citizen is a voice that I value so much, because at the end of the day, whatever we are doing in whatever sphere we are in, it's about the people, it's about the citizens. So that's why I've been excited about this community of practice, though there are times I've missed some of the sessions, but when I saw the pop-ups and the feedback, I thought that I could, come in a bit to just say how valuable I find this community of practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. It's great to also learn a bit from your experience and how this has been important, right? In so many ways. I think that's the spirit of promoting citizen engagement. I see that one more person is typing for the current question that is open. And Maureen, your session was upvoted here. Okay, we have 2 more votes, 2 more comments. Does anyone want to read them and share and comment? Well, I'll briefly go over them. We have someone talking about the mini-publics approach that was shared by Oliver Escobar. Super interesting, very structured method for citizen engagement. Then someone else is commenting on the importance of good communication and making policymaking more inclusive. The session by Maureen was highlighted, and also how empathy and putting humanity at the forefront of policymaking is core, right, for citizen engagement. Okay, our next question is, how has your perspective on citizen engagement evolved through these COP meetings? I see that for this one, the type of answer is wrong. So it's creating a word cloud, but we are not sharing individual words, right? I can see the whole phrases. So let me share my screen so that you can also see the results. So we have enhanced my appreciation. Let me start from the bottom. From generic things, from an understanding of generic things that is important. Sorry, I'm confused about this phrase, but it's basically that it's that's something that's important to be structured and planned out, right? The value of citizen engagement in policymaking, but especially the different approaches, innovations, methodologies that are around the world. Those are inspiring. Yeah, I think that was a great value added by the COP as well, that we could discuss the forefront of the field, right? Not only establish discussions, but also things that are emerging right now. It was previously not common. People often wondered what it is, but I think the COP has enlightened the community on the need to amplify the voices of the community, which is good. It is encouraging to know that there are many others around the world who care about this issue and are actively working towards change. That's really reassuring. That they know much more than we think. I imagine the citizens know much more than we think. From participation to partnership, engagement must be intentional and structured. Inclusion is not automatic, it's engineered. Evidence and citizen input are not competing forces. Yeah, great takeaway. Engagement is ongoing, not a one-off activity, and digital and alternative platforms matter. Yeah, great takeaways. This one began here. So initially, I viewed citizen engagement maybe as a consultative step and opportunity for communities to provide input into policies or programs. Over time, the discussions and case studies broadened and deepened my understanding in several ways, and these are the ways that this happened. That's great. That's a beautiful process of seeing this less and less as like a data point that needs to be included and more like a intrinsic part of good policy making, right, and decision making. And hence my appreciation of the expanded role of civic society in the process. Yeah. Well, at first I thought that this is just one of those things that you can get away with, but the past year has been an eye-opener. We also need to consider the voice of the community as they are the ones with the lived experience. Embrace the learning curve and future. Okay, I see someone else is typing here, so let's just wait for them, and then maybe we can skip some questions because we're running out of time. Which of these questions do you think is best for us to focus on? Have we been able to apply any of these skills and tools discussed in the COP meetings? That would be interesting to know, right? Have we been able to use those? What challenges remain or need deeper exploration, and what opportunities do you see for continued collaboration, knowledge sharing, and, well, something of those lines? And sustaining. So should we discuss next steps, the application, or challenges? What do you think? Let's stop sharing my screen. Yeah, Ronald says next steps. I also think that's a good idea. Also because we have a few people that, as Maureen raised at the beginning, might have ideas and opportunities of what could be done, right? So shall we make this an open discussion here instead of typing the answers into the Slido form? It would be great to hear from each of you. What do you think can be done in the next steps? How do you see potential avenues for partnership and collaboration?
Can I just chip in there?
Yeah, go ahead, Ronald, please.
All right, thanks. Yeah. So whilst we are looking at the potential, collaborations and so on, I think it's important that we not only embrace but also enhance the civil society's role, in capacity development and also knowledge brokering. Because I'll still continue to refer to today's, multipolar and populist world. And I think most civic society organizations are more strategically positioned, to serve as that link between not just evidence and researchers, but also engagement of the general public as well in, disseminating the evidence and also synthesizing that evidence in understandable formats, including also, creating the credibility that is required, especially as an information source and also on the part of the public as well, and also in fighting the misinformation, and most importantly, uh, sort of also ensuring that the underrepresented groups can also make an input and also advocate for whatever policy changes. So, yeah, I would like to think that we try to look at the various, types of civic society organizations and the role they are playing in their various spaces, from those who are engaging with the community at grassroots, and also those who are playing a more like intermediary or brokering role and interfacing not just with the policy institutions but also development partners as well, so that there is this continuum in terms of ensuring that we engage the publics more effectively, and whatever their input can go all the way up to actually informing policy decisions. I'm sure this way we can foster a more knowledgeable discourse, and also, build more resilient communities who can meaningfully contribute to the policy process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's important component, right, for us to keep in mind, which goes beyond, again, one-off strategies, but instead looks for systematic ways of continuous, right, engagement and, let's say, capacity building. That's definitely something we should keep in mind. And does anyone else would like to add? I think it would be also great if we had specific things that could that are lined up for next year, for instance, and that the community could engage with, and we can easily share those through our channels and have the people joining and supporting. Maury, would you like to talk a bit more about the plans for next year from ESSEC side?
Sure. Thanks, Davi. I really want to echo what Ronald said about the importance of the intermediaries. And I think if that's one thing that I learned from my time with ESSEC was how important their role is and how those people have an important role to play as champions of citizen engagement and of leading it in their country. So I was really happy to hear that. As you know, the ESSEC has been awarded an incredible amount of money from the Wellcome Trust and 31 other funders. I think it's 126 million US dollars, which is a which is not quite as much in Canadian dollars, but a lot of money to do the work. And one of the most insightful things that I heard at the Cape Town meeting at a table that I was sitting at, where there were a lot of people from the Global South, and they said, it's very nice that we want to move the leadership of this to the Global South, and we want to have all these voices. But how can we be successful if we don't have the tools to be able to do that? And just saying we're going to give, we'd like the leadership to come from there is not enough. So what I hope ESSEC has been able to do is set it up so that there will be success. So there will definitely be money going into training, into getting people involved, providing them the tools they need, sharing of tools, training, and there will be compensation for citizen members who are interacting in these committees and that. So that was very important too. A lot of the work in here, like if you're a member of Cochrane, for example, it's all volunteer work. Some people are doing it as part of their job, so they may get compensation that way. But people like me, who's been with Cochrane for 10 years, have done it completely on a voluntary basis. So there will also be compensation. So what they're doing now is they're setting up the infrastructure, and it's going to start with, there will be hubs in different areas. So I'm going to put it in the chat, the 3 areas. But we will, citizens as users of evidence for their decision making and as co-producers of evidence is one of the principles of it. And we will be everywhere in ESSEC at the governance level, at the different tables. And then there will be opportunities for groups like perhaps yourselves to put in applications to touch some of that actual funding to get their work done. That I don't have details on how that's going to work yet. That's the big mystery question. But I can assure you that our voices and citizen engagement will be front and center, and we will be woven all the way through. So it won't be at the end, at the implementation stage, as someone mentioned at the very beginning. I was happy to hear that too, that's a reflection. It'll be at the conceptualization stage and all the way through. So I'm going to put in the chat the 3 little pieces that involve citizens. But I think for this group, if you could come together and continue your work, then perhaps together you would be able to come up with different proposals of how you could continue working in this space and what kind of funding would be available to be able to do your work. And I think that those opportunities are going to come early in 2026. So I'm going to put something in the chat for you to look at a little bit at the structure, but it's there's definitely, we're not saying, it won't be tokenistic, like, oh yes, we believe in this, and then we just leave it there, and there's not the resources to be able to do it. So there's lots of attention to those resources. So I'm happy to answer any questions with the limited knowledge that I know, but I do know that there are many groups are thinking about different opportunities, and there will be money for training and learning, not just for doing, because we need that building piece before we can actually go and do. So I'll stop there.
That's amazing, Mari. Great news indeed. If you could also share a channel that we could follow to be informed whenever an opportunity like this arises, that would be great. Like, maybe you have a LinkedIn group or something like that, X profile or the website, right? Whatever you think it's more useful for us to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I just received an email this morning early about the last update that they will provide, which is on December 18th. I think there's 2 different times. So I'll put the link to sign up for that update. So that's when they're going to be talking about the opportunities. I haven't seen the agenda, but I'm thinking that there will be some really concrete steps in that update, which is on December 18th. So I will send that. And I'm just going into my stuff to look for my.
Great. Thank you, Mario. That's very exciting. We will soon need to wrap up, so I would like to check if anyone else would like to either make a comment or ask a question. Feel free to ask questions to Maureen, right? Respective to what she just shared, or any other comments before I open the floor to Veronica and Cecilia to see if they have final comments, and then we close the meeting.
Maybe I can jump in and wrap up what we did tonight, today.
Thank you, Vera. Yep. Go ahead.
Yes. So in general terms, what we were mentioning today was how was remembering what the spirit of this community practice was, no? And we actually captured this in different ways. First were the presentations that we had on the different people working around the world, how the practices, methodologies, and we made a progress on having a shared vision on the role of citizen engagement in policy making. I think we all agreed on that. We also mentioned, well, Cici mentioned some of the lessons we had on the organization of working groups, the challenges of having this as a global initiative, which was a very complex and on organizing and a voluntary work that we had to dedicate. But also, well, the keeps that we got were shared by all of you. I think we still have some motivations to keep this going. So there are some people that still want to contribute, and I think we have a lot of steps going on next year, especially on what Maureen was mentioning. One of the key lessons that I would grab personally was on what Beatriz mentioned about what we need and what we want from this community of practice. That was that message was a bit lost and maybe kept us from continuing the working groups. That's yeah. I think also the exercise that you provided, Tavi, gave us a bit of lights and lessons learned, and yeah, that we can keep going on, I think, as a community. No?
Thanks, Veronica, for the wrap up. Cecilia, would you like to add any final message?
Thank you, Tavi. I think it was a very nice reflection. It was really great to see how this worked. So I think from my side, just to appreciate really the Secretariat for working this hard all these months, and also the members that stuck with us till the end. We're really grateful to all of them. And then I think from the side of the AEN, we're going to send out a mailer of all the meeting recordings and maybe just a reflection blog to all the AEN members. Those that are not AEN members, I think we'll send out a thank you email to all the members as well, so they can get the same information, so that no one is excluded in terms of getting all the recordings that we have of all the meetings and the content that we've developed together. And then also, I think I would encourage participants to stay connected and apply the insights in their work, via the 3 organizations' social media platforms, WHO, the Africa Evidence Network, and Cochrane social media, so that we keep the conversation alive whilst we are, thinking in terms of where we want to take the community of practice. Because I think with these 3 organizations, there's a bit of shift in the leadership that started this community of practice. From the side of the AEN, we are looking for a new director who's going to take over from myself, so to see how that transition go. I think same with Cochrane and WHO. So whilst those are happening, we'll sort of keep the community posted in terms of how do we want to move ahead and move forward with this community, because it shows that it's really important for us to continue with their work. And then lastly, really, thank you for being part of this 13-month journey with us. We are excited to continue exploring, different ways to strengthen citizen engagement in evidence decision making across our work and really our networks as well, because all of us have different networks. Your insights, your contributions, like Maureen and the other speakers, contribution have played an important role in shaping this process. Though it was not that perfect, but at least we've started. It shaped the process. So we're looking forward to many more opportunities to learn, collaborate, and grow together, because that's something that is really important. This body of work is very important to all the members, I think, that joined in, just to make sure that we get started and get to where we are in terms of how we've done this work. So thank you very much, everyone, really, for trusting us when we're trying to build this process and not even knowing what we are doing, trying to figure it out with you. So thank you very much. I think that those will be my last words, Tavi, on my side.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you for the generous remarks. And I think it's just worth emphasizing, right, that the decision to make this the final meeting of the COP was not due to anything that is intrinsic to the COP. I think the COP was advancing in a very interesting way when they thought that there was a lot of value being taken out of it, but really due to the changes that coincidentally are happening in the three organizations that we're leading. That WHO, for those who are not following, is going through a major restructuring process. So, and reprioritization process, and also a reduction of scope. So from our side, that is the reason, and not that we were not taking value out of the COP, right? And I think similar to the Africa Evidence Network, right? So there's a leadership transition that needs to take place. So any final comments before we close the meeting? We have one last minute if anyone is burning with a final remark. Okay, so on behalf of the Secretariat, I'd like to thank everyone who was able to join us throughout this year and also today, and for your contributions. It has been a lovely journey. We've learned so much. Very exciting, very encouraging to see so many people engaged and interested on this topic and working hard to promote good policies, good decisions, and strong communities that are able to support policymaking. So we will definitely see each other around in different forums. Maybe a similar community of practice might rise again next year with the support of ESIC, maybe more. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day, good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.